We need a motion to come out of executive. Mr. Forte, second by Mr. All in favor? Aye. And nays? Motion carried. Mr. Forte?
Yes, sir. I'd like to first, move my item on the discussion of the bill again until next month. In light of the information we gathered in executive session, in order to attain unitary status, I feel like we should wait on the conference of the 27th to see what other information we can gather. And on August, we have until August the 20th to appeal. So I move that we move my approval over to the August meeting, which will be August 7th, I believe, somewhere around there.
Okay. Take consideration. We'll move on to the next item.
We need it.
No, we need that other item.
That other, yeah, he's moving the table of items. Did he have a second before?
Which one of the items?
Mr. Pote.
We need a second.
Motion.
I'll second.
Second. Okay, we need to vote on Mr. Forte. Okay, that's for July, for the conference for July 27th, and also,
Right,
to make a decision at the next board meeting.
correct.
Okay, vote with your machine. Stand nays. That's the motion carried. And the item that Mrs. Russo,
That was, 17.
17, follow recommendation.
I'll second it.
okay. Yeah. Okay, we have a motion on item 7C to, accept the recommendations of the administration.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Abad, second by Mr. Forte. Mr. Duray, open the machine. Is there any nays? That motion carries. Okay, we're going on to item 5A. Consider approve Head Policy Council recommendation. SLCC, Lion Club, MOL, Head Start teacher, and teacher assistant, hourly, and date change. Ms. Orange.
So we have two MOUs that we're asking approval for. One of them is for SLCC, the other one is for the Lions Club. And then the other option is we change the current Head Start and Head Start assistant teachers' hours from 7:30 to 3 to 7:30 to 3:30 to align with the early Head Start. And in doing that, we use the number of days they work, so it would still equal out to their same annual hours. So there's no change in the salary schedule. It's just a change in their hours and days worked. And it's on the handout. So we're asking for approval for those items.
Motion to accept. Second by Mr. Forte, second by Mr. Duray. All in favor? Vote for the machine. Stand nays. And motion is carried. Item 5B. Consider approve job description for maintenance foreman, energy, construction, maintenance supervisor. Mr. Blanchard.
Okay, over the last few months, we've had a lot of discussion about these two positions. And what I'm recommending to the board tonight is that you approve the two job descriptions. I've met with Mr. Menard and with Mr. Pete to discuss the job roles and the job titles. For Mr. Pete, I'm recommending the job description with the jobs he's handling, maintenance, overseeing construction, and the other duties that he handles around the parish at the previously approved salary. And I'm recommending the title of Energy Maintenance and Construction Manager. At an earlier meeting, we used the word supervisor, but I'm recommending that we change that to construction manager. Again, he retains all, rights and responsibilities and privileges of the job that he's doing right now. And for Mr. Menard, I'm recommending maintenance, supply, emergency compliance technician. I've spoken to Mr. Menard, he said the salary we agreed upon a couple of months ago, and it'll encompass the duties of handling all emergency calls after hours and on weekends. And he is going to work toward getting certification in at least 2 or 3 areas. So my recommendation is to approve these 2 job descriptions.
Mr. Forte, question pertaining to that position there, with Mr. Menard. Okay. He said that, I'm just kind of trying to remember what he had said. He said he's at a salary of 32. Is that correct? And then he would be jumped up, what was the rate increase, 5 or 6? I mean,
I think it was 6 is what was discussed the night of the board meeting.
so that would bring him up to 38 if he would pass all the criteria. Okay, Mr. Durio brought up a situation like, what if he doesn't pass these criteria? Do we open up this job for advertising?
Currently, we're outsourcing those things, so I mean, the board would have the option to go back to outsourcing it or get somebody else to do it.
And I really believe that will save money if he passes them, which I'm good with. I just didn't agree with the way it was handled, because that should have came from you. And again, like I said, we worked all. And that's the main thing that I want to say, is that we need to start going through, we need to communicate with the superintendent and the attorneys and get everything straightened out and not have this chaos like we had that last meeting there. Or 2 meetings. No, that was 2 meetings ago, I'm talking about. Not the last, but that's the only thing I want to say, and then, you know.
I do want to say this, and then part of the reason, I've conferred with Mark as well as Mr. Hammond, and this recommendation is intended to clear up any confusion about whether it's legal or not. Okay? And so it's coming from the superintendent, I'm making that recommendation, and so that way there's no concern or question about Act 1.
Okay. Ms. Vito,
Make a motion.
okay. We have a motion and a second. We have a motion on Ms. Vito, second by Mr. Forte. Vote to the machine. Is there any nays? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to board members' request. Item A.
All right, well, based on what I just heard and approved, there's no sense in discussing I think everybody will be satisfied. Just as long as we recognize the fact that there is not a position called maintenance supervisor. If we do this, I would just withdraw the motion.
Right, okay.
Good enough?
Yes, sir.
Same thing would be,
Then,
I mean, it's no use,
All right.
even discuss it. I mean,
Okay,
I said what I had to say.
All right, that's
So,
fine.
hold.
Discuss sales tax report, Mr. Knapp.
all right, hold on, next. Discuss the sales tax department. Now, here I'm gonna talk about 2 things, you don't get concerned, that I do not plan to make a motion. Not in this month, the next month. Over the last, I'm guessing, so that November, December, I did start getting some rumors and things, about the sales tax department. And I know many times in the last, well, probably March or April, Mr. Wanda and I basically shared notes. And at one time, I think I even discussed with the attorney, there were a lot of things happening in the sales tax department, which Wanda and I both thought of requesting an independent audit. Now, we received an email once in a while from Al, and at this stage, I still think that we need an independent, that doesn't have to be an audit, but just an independent review of the sales tax. Some of the rumors, some of us may have heard, some of us may have discussed privately, and And here is how I think it should be handled. I don't think we need, again, I mean, that's all. But let's talk about, and for the time being, I may have a different word, but an independent review so that somebody can always say, this is what happened, and this is how it resolved. And if anybody asks me or any board member or anyone, here is the report. Now, how do I think it should be handled? We might have different views. The superintendent here, to me, has the authority to hire a consultant for a small, maybe less than 5,000, and have a review of the sales tax report. My notes, private, but I don't mind sharing them with an independent person. So, yeah, I did discuss that with Ms. Wanda. Now, here is the type of person that I'm looking forward to. A person on name, like Charles Murray, the all known chief. He appoints him to do an independent review at a fee based on hourly basis or daily basis. He interviews superintendents, basically what happened, how it was resolved, and that stuff. You're probably looking at a fee of much less than $5,000. It doesn't have to be Mr. Murray, it could be anybody else. So that he can present a report that we can give to Mr. Champagne and anybody else. And we need to stop people, when I go to Walmart or McDonald's, coming to me and saying, did you hear about it? Did you hear about it? I'll be able to say, well, we did have an independent review. And there it is. So basically, that's my thing. If anybody else wants to, this one that you want to carry.
So you're basically saying we're having problems in the city?
I first heard about it probably last November.
My personal opinion is that if there ain't anything going wrong, Mr. Champagne's crew would record it. Or made us knowledgeable of it. I think we do good with Mr. Champagne. But I don't see a need for any further investigation other than that. That's my personal opinion.
Anyone else?
Yeah, would Champagne's company,
They're about to come in and do our annual audit.
but would they have caught something in sales tax?
Well, they haven't audited, they do audit
That area?
under four, but I think all of our funds, they haven't audited 2021 yet. They come next week for prelim work and then they come back in the fall. They do, and then we also did bring in someone from outside. Actually, they used to work for the school board and then worked for the sheriff's department to come in and assist and do some reconciliations and help us to verify transactions after we had the incident in April. If you can elaborate.
Then the second point,
I just wanted to make a comment. That if it was Mr. Knott is saying that he wants the board to share the information with happen.
And, I mean,
And
we
then I think
discussed
every
it.
board member probably know what happened.
I mean, it was discussed at a prior
that's
meeting and resolved.
Comments with order.
But, I mean, I guess the board needs to be informed of, unless you guys already know of whatever the incident was, but we have to discuss what it is and then we said before we said it in public. I don't know that there's anything wrong with having, an independent look at it. I mean, it's done, but, I'd imagine that you could ask Champagne to have a specific look at that.
Well, I consider Mr. Champagne, but again, he does all other things. That's why I'd rather think maybe someone else. And that's why I said, we all know Chip Murray, I would trust him, but you only have other people in mind. Just as long as one gets done and he calls the shots, all right? All right, now, the second part of Ms. Wanda's. On her agenda, last board meeting, she bring it up, and then, so I'm not, we were going to vote on hiring an additional accountant. And I did discuss it with her last Thursday. I do not believe that this is the time to be hiring not only an accountant, but any personnel in the sales tax department. Number one, here is the headline of Morning Advocate. Louisiana legislature sends centralized sales tax amendment to the board. That was passed in Baton Rouge 3 weeks ago unanimously. There are 47 states that have centralized tax collection. Every senator and every representative voted for it. It would be up to the voters in October. And then if it passes, then they will have a special session to design the system. So, for that, I do not, and I did talk to one or two other, St. Andrew Parish. And basically, they're going to do a lot of the best they can to operate a deal. So I don't think we should vote on her hiring an additional accountant or anybody else. All right. That's it. Unless anybody has comments, I'll get to the next one.
Anybody have any more questions? Well, we'll move on to the next item. That's the,
Okay, the next item,
you don't know why?
yeah, I have another one. It's called Act One.
Yeah.
And since everybody heard, just before we went in executive session, I was quoted, having said something in executive session. Something about going out and meetings at 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, first of all, a comment was made last board meeting by one board member that basically I voted basically illegally on Act One when I ran through the appointment of Sammy Winter. And I believe Mark stood up a little bit. So I did a little bit of research, actually, Wendy informed me. So I had on every packet an item 2006 that was acted on. And you will notice, just so you will know, that there was 9 pages at that meeting. Not only that, but that was 6 years before Act One was passed. That's the days when Richard and I, Frederick, would cut deals and appoint people. All right. And that's one reason why we have Act One today, 6 years after. And those were meetings that lasted until 2 o'clock in the morning. I remember one day we got a deal, some of us reported 8 people, and we realized later there was only 7 positions. So, I mean, those were the good old days. But anyhow, let's look at page 9. Let's see how it operated. Superintendent Hager informed the board that Sammy Winter was her recommendation for the position of supervisor of operations. All right. Mr. Ledoux seconded the motion unanimously and appointed Sam Winter to 2-year term effective July 2006. The board now did not get involved. I don't even remember knowing Sam Winter. But just so you know a little bit more about Act One, skip it later, skip a paragraph. Superintendent Hager informed the board that Alan Blanchard Jr. was her recommendation for the position of supervisor of elementary education. You should remember that at board meeting, huh? Now, it gets a little bit better. Superintendent Hager informed the board that Timmy was her recommendation for the principal of Stevens Elementary. Might have made a motion. Superintendent Hager informed the board that Laura Saucier was a second choice for the position of principal. Nobody made a motion. So you see, that's how we operated before Act One. And then Superintendent Hagan informed the board that Mary Wyville was our recommendation. That's the one we wanted. If you had recommended 50 people, we're going to just sit and wait, all right? So we had to agree on that. On the motion of Mr. Ledoux and second by Mr. Blanchard, the board appointed Mary Wyville as principal of Cleveland Elementary. And let me tell you, it was a battle. Ms. Hager hated her, everybody called her. But I thought she had done a tremendous job, and she had to buy her own personal phone. I unfunded her to represent the job. All right, that's it. All right, now let's see what else. Okay, one other thing, and I'll be finished with today. Act One. That does Sammy Williams. Now, a week ago, talking about Act One. A little over a week ago, I read a lot of my emails at 2:30 and 5 in the morning. I get a phone, every board member here, I've got an email from a board member basically questioning how we acted improperly when we didn't approve his superintendent's action on the ESSEA. Remember, he presented a motion, argued that 2,000 for professionals, 1,000 paraprofessionals, and basically, that to me is exactly how Act One should work. He presented to the board, he said what he'd done, and then a board member made a recommendation that we come up with $1,500 afterwards. And then the next board meeting, there was an extra money, so he again brought it to the board. Well, I don't see any way that we violated or consider violating Act One. All right, so let me get it right here. And how did we act it? Well, the way we violated is the superintendent under RS 1722 can set salaries for the employees. Well, that has nothing to do with the salaries of employees. 17-22, it does say the superintendent can set salaries. There's only one problem. That act is for the state secretary. It has nothing to do with the parish. So again, it was handled perfectly by the superintendent and the board. Okay? That's it. I'm finished.
Anybody else got
No.
any?
That's it, right?
If there's no more action, then we move to adjourn. Have a motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries.
Yeah.